We're 3 weeks into college football, so let's talk about some guys that are flying under the radar when it comes to the 2022 NFL Draft. I know it's far away, but my job, my responsibility here is try to give you guys some names, expand your repertoire when it comes to this draft class. So I want to put some guys on your radar that aren't already there. This is going to be a weekly series where I take a look at some of these past week performances and say, hey, some of these guys may be legit. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. But first, what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up if you enjoy the content. Let me know who are some of your sleepers in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful, sensual football discourse. I will have a mock draft for you tomorrow. I know, I did 2 mock the mocks this week, man. So instead of going in on other people, I'm going to open up myself. I'm going to open up my heart and let y'all go in on me. Sounds kind of dirty. Let's talk about quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa. Man, I do not miss not saying Tua's name. But now his brother, man, his younger brother out of Maryland, I think he's looked pretty good. Against Illinois, he put up a solid performance. Illinois, they got some legit pass rushers there. But he handled the pressure pretty well. To be fair, he was given pretty clean pockets for the most part, but doesn't have the best size. 5'11", 205. And I will say this, what he's improved upon the most this season from the little bit we saw last year is he doesn't put the ball in harm's way. But in that same regard, it's not like he is really making a lot of big plays. Sometimes he feels like he's overly conservative. Because I think he does have that arm talent to make some plays. It flashed a little bit in that Illinois game. But, man, this guy won't really be tested until October. Because he's got Iowa, he's got Ohio State. I think they got Michigan State later on in the year, maybe Penn State. I'm not positive of that, but those are going to be the bigger tests. We'll get a better inkling of what type of prospect he may be. He doesn't have to come out this year, but something I'd like to see him is actually do more is he typically only goes through his looks at his first 2 reads, and a lot of times he goes to his first read. I want to see him go through progressions a bit more. When he is under pressure, you can see him go through those progressions very quickly. But I'd like to see it just again. Even when the pocket's clean, him going through all his progressions. Sometimes he just stares down his first target just to go to his whoever he has underneath. So it hasn't bit him in the butt, but I do want to in those big games against Ohio State, Iowa. Like I said, those are the first 2 big hurdles he's gonna have to face. He's gonna have to produce those big plays. I get it. Don't turn the ball over. You don't want to be the guy that costs your team the game. But at the same time, you're going to have to come up with those big plays. And he's got the receivers to do it. He's got some legit receivers there in Maryland. At running back, I want to talk about Kenneth Walker. I'm sure everyone else is talking about Kenneth Walker, but Kenneth Walker has been pretty darn impressive. Last week, he hurt my Miami Hurricanes pretty bad. Not a hard thing to do. I mean, we saw what happened in North Carolina last year. They ran for almost 600 yards rushing against the Hurricanes. It was very ugly, and it hurt me very deep. But he has been he's up there with Zach Charbonnet in terms of one of the run backs that have really helped themselves out and really elevated their stock thus far this season. He has gotten involved a bit in the passing game as well. You like to see it. And this guy, he's a transfer from Wake Forest, and he was pretty legit at Wake Forest. He had doing quick math in my head. He had 70 forced missed tackles on a little over 200 carries. Solid. So far this year, he has 35 forced missed tackles on 57 carries. He's a missed tackle machine. It's tough to get a hold of this guy. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if he put on maybe 5 more pounds and because I like his center of gravity. He just has that game breaking ability. I like him a lot. no fumble. Actually had one fumble his freshman season at Wake Forest, but for the most part, man, almost 300 carries, only one fumble. You like to see it. This is the most he's actually been involved in the passing game, and we just saw it against Miami. That's it. Nothing special, nothing real special there. But he did have 2 forced missed tackles on the 3 receptions he had against Miami. But yeah, stellar performance. We're going for receiver. We're going to UTSA, baby. Yes, we are. Zachary Franklin, man, he had a pretty solid game against Middle Tennessee State. 6'1", 185. If you were here, we were doing the NCAA series where I was playing as UTSA, and I got familiar with Franklin, man. I like I'm liking Franklin more and more. Like, he does a really good job of tracking the football. He's got pretty solid speed, too. 8 receptions, 114 yards. He had 6 forced missed tackles just in that game alone. Not a contested catch guy, though. I think he's 1 for 5 on the season in terms of contested catches, which when you're kind of built at 6'1" and only 185, I don't expect you to be a contested catch guy. So, which is fine. But yeah, I've been thoroughly impressed with how he has played thus far this season. Because I mean, honestly, like UTSA has some legit prospects this year. They really do. Like, they have Wisdom, the safety. I really like their running back, McCormick. But yeah, thus far this season, man, he's been pretty darn stellar. How many forced missed tackles does he have? Oh, I'm looking at receiving depth. My bad. I think he's got 7 forced missed tackles on the season. He's just been pretty darn impressive. Yes, 7. Oh, my mistake. He had none in this past game. He has 7 for the season. Well, not that he really needed it. He's mainly playing on the outside, 77 snaps wide to his 7 snaps in the slot. So, guy to watch out for. Doesn't have to come out this year. Probably will have to wait for a Senior Bowl next season. So, I don't know. We'll see, man. If he continues to rattle off games like he has, like it's been impressive. Through 3 games, he has 346 yards. So excuse me, but he is a big play threat. Very sure-handed too, man. Very sure-handed. And I mean, last year he was pretty darn solid as well. But I love the forced missed tackle ability that he has really shined. I want to take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. If you want to make a little money, then do something you're good at, like fantasy football, or maybe you could do pick'ems, maybe a little parlay with some player props. Use Underdog. When you use promo code Broshmo, you get $10 upon your first deposit of $10. That's $20 when you dump $10. Oh my goodness, go make $1 million with that money. But yeah, it helps the channel, so help me out and go make money while you do it. Enjoy the rest of the video. At tight end, PEYTON HENDERSHOT, man. I talked about him during the offseason. He was a guy that could have came out this past season. There is the character concern, the red flag. But if you look into it, like it was a dispute, domestic dispute. He shoved his girlfriend trying to get her phone because he thought she was cheating on her. Cannot confirm if she was, though. I can't, at least. But I get it. He doesn't really have, there's nothing else before or after the incident. So, and from a lot of testimonies from his teammates, he seems like a really stand-up guy. So, again, I'm not going to grade him harshly based on that. I will grade him harshly based on his 2020 tape, though. It was pretty rough because this guy, for all intents and purposes, he's not the best blocker in the world, but he's got the size for it, 6'4", 254. But in the NFL, you're looking for that receiving threat anyway. And he has been that. He was a big receiving threat in 2019. But then in 2020, drops out of nowhere just became a thing. He had 6 drops, which was more than he had his whole career. He has no drops through the season thus far. And this past game was kind of a coming out party for him because he didn't get targeted against Idaho. Not that he really needed to. They kind of blew them out. But against Iowa, he had 3 receptions for 26 yards. This past game, 6 receptions, 60 yards, touchdown. He has, I believe, he had four forced missed tackles in that game, and he had 1 in the Iowa game. So probably going to be more of a late day 3 guy, but still someone to keep on the radar. No drop issue. That was kind of my biggest question mark for him coming into the season. And then at tackle, this guy's going to be a hot riser, especially with the tackle class kind of being a little wishy-washy, is Nicholas Petit-Frere. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are already talking about this cat. For all intents and purposes, they should be, because he's kind of good. I'm trying to pull up his stats right now. But he only allowed 1 pressure against Tulsa, and I think that was only over like 40-some pass blocking snaps. Through the season, he's been pretty darn spectacular. And we could even go to that Oregon game. It was really the interior that let Ohio State down in that game. He ended up allowing 2 pressures. He had 2 pressures allowed against Minnesota. And that was probably his worst game. Keep in mind, he had 60 pass blocking snaps against Oregon, only allowing 2 pressures. So I would say it was kind of a rough start to start the year. But again, he's been very solid since. You see the strength. The guy's got some power. That was something over the offseason that he actually wanted to improve upon, and I think he has. He has the athleticism to keep up with those quicker pass rushers. And again, yeah, like Zion Nelson, Charles Cross, these 2 guys that a lot of people were hoping to be first rounders, I don't think have really showed it just yet. And I mean, Jackson Kirkland, he's just hot off of that terrible game against Aiden Hutchinson, which we will get to see Petit-Frere go one-on-one with Aiden Hutchinson this year. So, yeah, that's one to circle on your calendars. So, I like this cat a lot. Very good run blocker as well. In terms of the interior, I'm going to stick into the Big 12 with Cody Ince. I'll get these names down. I promise I will. But he is a undersized, for all intents and purposes, a undersized interior player. It's just weighing under 300 pounds. You don't like to see it, but he's super athletic. Former wrestler too, I believe. And you kind of see it. He uses his hands masterfully. This is going to be a guy that's going to be an outside zone blocking scheme type of blocker there at guard. But he's really looked good as a run blocker thus far this year. I mean, so much so that, like, even watching before this season, I was thinking, man, is Tyler Goodson is he a good running back? And I'm starting to think he's an average running back. It's just that offensive line is that good. And part of the reason is because Cody has been that good, especially as a pass blocker, man. He's only allowed 2 pressures all season long, allowing 1 in the Kent State game and 1 in the Iowa State game. But it's been his run blocking that's really been impressive. Again, you are going to wonder, can he hold up to NFL strength, especially at 282? You're going to have to put on a little bit of size there. But another guy that's not eligible till 2023, or at least that's when his eligibility runs out. Why are words difficult? Going to the defensive interior, we're going to the Big 12 with, I talked about this cat earlier in my rankings list. If you haven't checked it out, you should. Jalen Redmond out of Oklahoma. I was kind of curious how him and Pierron Winfrey would share the interior job there at Oklahoma, and they're doing just fine. They're sharing just fine together. He went up against Nebraska this past week. Nebraska got toasted by Illinois. Illinois does have some fine pass rushers, but it doesn't surprise me that Oklahoma toasted them as well. This is a very good Oklahoma defensive line. But he had 8 pressures, a sack. He had 1 defensive stop. The thing is, he hasn't been on the field a lot for running plays. He only has 175 run defense snaps to his name, though he has been solid in that regard. He had 12 stops in 2019. Keep in mind, he opted out in 2020. Doesn't have to come out this year. Probably will, though, because he becomes a bit of an older prospect at that point. But, yeah, he's really been on a tear, man. 12 pressures for the season. And like I said, him and Winfrey are working in perfect harmony. It's a beautiful thing. Micah Tufa out of Utah. He's having a pretty solid season. He is maybe more of a mid to late day 3 guy. I just don't think he doesn't have elite get off. He doesn't have elite bend. Where he wins a lot is with how strong his hands are. And he does feel like a Bradley Anai type of prospect. You know, the other guy that came out of Utah a couple of years ago. He feels real similar to him, but he's been on a tear this whole season against a San Diego State team that have a very solid offensive line. He was able to get 4 pressures, a sack. He had 4 defensive stops. That's the thing. This guy is a good run defender. So you love to see that. So there's going to be a role for him in the NFL. Like, he could be a solid depth piece that you maybe put on the field during early downs, but he also has that pass rushing upside. He already has 13 pressures, 2 sacks on the season through 3 games. So, gotta love it. I'm actually gonna be writing about him for Blue Chip Scouting. Again, links in the description below if you want to check out. I got some scouting reports there. I do a weekly review and then preview for the Pac-12. So, show me some love. And then Baylor, the Baylor linebacker, Terrell Bernard. He is an interesting prospect. A lot of people really love him. I don't blame him. I like him too. I worry about his size. He's 6'1", 222. He doesn't have like elite athleticism for a guy that size. So probably going to get thrown there on day 3. In all honesty, but he maneuvers the offense or the line of scrimmage very well. He doesn't get stuck on blocks. That's what you love to see. You worry about that at that size because he doesn't have a lot of strength. A lot of his stuff is coming downhill momentum based, but he has been very solid against the run game, and even better as a pass rusher, man. He had 2 pressures in this pass game, but he has 9 pressures and a sack on the season. He's only rushed the passer 18 times. That means half the time he's leaving the quarterback a little sweaty. Just saying. But what I love best is how he plays coverage. He's been a very solid coverage linebacker throughout his career, and that remains true this season. He's only allowed 18 total yards in coverage. Would like to see a bit more plays in coverage, but I mean I would say like 2.5 years he started, he does have 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, but still you want to see more. That's why I kind of have this guy more as a day 3 guy, but I do like it. He's not like on the Washington linebacker Eddie. I'm going to mess your last name up, so I'm not going to say it. I wouldn't say he's on that type of level because, like, you still see, like, he maneuvers the line, like, for a guy his size, almost better than anyone in this class. He maneuvers it extremely well, but I would say Bernard does a better job of not getting stuck on blocks. And then at corner, Jack Jones, baby. Jack Jones out of Arizona State. I actually wrote a scouting report on him if you want to go check it out. The thing, dude, it's size for me, man. It kills me. Like, I don't know what to think because at 5'10", 175, it just screams, okay, this guy is probably going to be a slot. But he has played basically on the outside his whole career. Only has 36 slot snaps to his name, almost 1,700 snaps out wide. Now, we've seen, like, the NFL team, especially if you're running, like, cover 2 or quarters, you don't mind giving up a little bit of size on the outside. As long as those guys can cover ground really quickly. And that's the thing with Jones, man. He's got great short area quickness. Again, that's somewhere I think he would be very good at when it comes to him being in the slot. But in terms of being a tackler, he's not all that great. But he is an older prospect. He was a former USC guy. And I think he came out of the 2016 recruiting class. But dude has some upside to him, man. He has a knack for getting to the ball, 2 pass breakups and interception in this last game. And it was BYU, man. BYU's playing really good football right now. Them and San Diego State are just running roughshod through the Pac-12 right now. But he only allowed 26 receiving yards in that game. He's only allowed 50 receiving yards on 6 receptions through the season. Hasn't allowed a touchdown just yet. But if you go back to his 2019, because 2020 was kind of a wash, he only played 64 snaps. He had 11 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. 2017, when he was playing at USC, he had 4 interceptions, 4 pass breakups. So did allow 9 penalties, though. Interesting. I didn't specifically look at if there was a reason he transferred, though. So there might be something there. But again, older prospect as well. And then a guy that I ragged on last year, not because of how he plays, but we'll get to in a sec. Leon O'Neal Jr. out of Texas A&M. He put out a banger game against New Mexico. And you'd be like, New Mexico? He better have played very well against New Mexico. And I'd be like, well, they got Terry Wilson, the former Kentucky quarterback there. So I think this was a more intriguing matchup than a lot of people think. He mainly plays deep, but like they're at Texas A&M. They play a lot of like too high, so he's really gonna be a box guy in the NFL. But dude comes downhill with a head of steam, dude. I think this guy loves to hit. He's got a highlight compilation on YouTube where it's like, dang, that boy can hit. Sometimes it works against him as a tackler because then, you know, if you got that type of mentality, you're going to typically miss some tackles here and there. And through his career, he's at, 25% missed tackle rate, but he's down to 13 thus far this year, so commentate. He had 2 pass breakups in this game, 2 defensive stops as well. He has 2 interceptions on the season. He had 2 against Kent State. But I like him as a box guy, probably then makes him a day 3 guy. Because I don't think he's got great range. I don't think he is a guy that can line up deep consistently in the NFL. But the reason I ragged on him, right, was because he was out there trolling Caden Stearns. Like, they go back and look at it. They had a real weird beef, and it's kind of comical. So there's a little homework for you. But let me know who are some of your sleepers, again, in the comment section below. And that's it for the video. Go ahead and do that YouTube thing. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. And until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.